The original Spyro games weren't my favorite games growing up. If you've happened to have seen my video on Sonic Adventure, then you know that's the game that captured my heart and to this day is still my favorite game. But the first 3 Spyro games weren't far behind. My memory of the exact timeline is foggy, but somewhere during the Dreamcast's life, my parents picked up a PlayStation from Sam's Club that came with a copy of Spyro the Dragon. I don't think it was a proper bundle, but just the store's way of clearing some inventory. It was a revelation to my young mind. Sonic Adventure let me play as a variety of weird animals with odd abilities, but in Spyro the Dragon I could glide and, more importantly, shoot flames whenever I wanted. I was, and still am, pretty bad at video games, so I didn't get much farther past the Peacekeeper's world, but I dearly enjoyed playing the opening set of stages. Stone Hill felt so huge and expansive. It had nothing on the stages I'd played in Sonic Adventure realistically, but Spyro's ability to get around is so much more restricted than Sonic's spin dash jump or Tails' flight, and thanks to the closer to the ground camera here, the illusion of huge worlds was conveyed to me nonetheless. I still remember discovering this little cave tucked away with the key by the ocean, and looking out over the waters to see how far they reached with a sense of wonder. To my young mind, the weaving paths and verticality of Town Square made it feel like a real city, a notion I still laugh at as an adult, but it's how I felt at the time. Dark Hollow is still one of my favorite levels in any video game, with Stuart Copeland's score helping to perfectly convey the atmosphere of this strange and claustrophobic area hidden away in the center of a sprawling forest. Being able to burn these logs and light this area up even more was huge for me. It's such a simple thing, but that level of interactivity with the world was new to me, and finding out how to get to Sunny Flight through jumping on the platforms made it feel like anything was possible in this world full of dragons. Any secret could be hidden anywhere, uncovered with just the right trick and sense of interaction with the world. It made me pay attention to everything, and it made me question everything in a game world for the first time. The toasty level scared me though, probably playing a part in me not getting past it very much while trying to get through the game. Between the music and the barking, snarling dogs, and the game's harmless sheep taking a determined stance against Spyro, it all added up to quite a bit of intimidation. The atmosphere of the game before this was a bit unnerving to me too. It's a hard feeling to describe, but running around the expanse of Stone Hill or taking in everything in Dark Hollow as this small kid dragon really made me feel alone and out of my depth, but in an exciting way. It's like walking through a huge city by yourself for the first time, or like being in the woods during a thunderstorm, or like being in a hotel hallway at night even. It's just stimulating. It stirred that sense of wonder in me. I'd look out beyond the boundaries of this game world and wonder what was out there. Were there other dragons to meet? Other carefully crafted areas just like the one I was in? Could I get there? What was it like there? I wanted to go there. I wanted the worlds in Spyro 1 to truly be worlds, never-ending places full of things to see and do. I had this experience to different extents in Spyro 2 and Spyro 3, but it stemmed primarily here in Spyro 1. You can probably figure out what starts to come next. I got older. The childish wonder and fascination to every aspect of everything in the world slowly gave way to answers, realities. Ups and downs, happiness and sadness, meetings and partings, the whole gamut. Fun stuff, right? Around my adolescence, I got back into video games in a big way, and I gradually became fascinated with them in a different way, with them becoming more of a passionate hobby than a mere pastime or a temporary escape from reality. I engaged them differently. Creative worlds spawned from and either transformed into artistry that teams of people spent a lot of time crafting. I saw games for their mechanics and their systems and what they accomplished more than the experiences they were meant to be. a viewpoint that was always keeping me at arm's length away from them. I want to say that I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with holding this as a perspective. In this day and age where it's easier than ever to reach out to those who worked on pieces of media we love, there is a benefit to understanding that a lot of hard work, ingenuity, and more sacrifice than we can imagine goes into everything we consume. I'd even say it's doubly important to keep this perspective in mind when this unprecedented level of access is abused a lot to spread negativity, strife, and hate directly toward those creating for us. But it did eventually leave me in a different place, one where I was removed from the reason I loved games so much growing up in the first place. There was no longer a balance of enjoying the artistry and the illusion of the art. I didn't realize this change ever happened, it just did. I was slowly getting more into the industry of games than the games themselves as I grew up, especially once I started creating videos on YouTube about games. It's one thing to play a game with this newer perspective, but it's another to play a game and constantly be analyzing every facet of what it's doing so that you can attempt to whack together a coherent script, praising and or critiquing it later. To take notes on the game and to record every single second of your gameplay, ready to jot down timestamps that you may want to refer to later, to then transform these notes into videos and then stare at graphs and analytics telling you whether your message resonated or if it will even reach people to resonate. For every single game you play, even in your leisure, to potentially be turned into a project or hustle. I mean, sure, I could play Sakura Wars without making a video on it, but even in the back of my mind, I'd want to record it just in case I want to mention it in an end-of-year wrap-up video. Or maybe a game I expect to play just for enjoyment becomes something I actually really want to talk about. It all becomes work when you don't intend it to be once you decide to take YouTube seriously. I know this isn't relatable to most people, and it's absolutely a decision I made and one I'm still glad I made. It isn't a complaint by any stretch, but one I share to help show that games just became something else entirely for me, twisted into this weird part of my own being where I had to also begin viewing them as things to help me potentially live if I wanted to make this my career path. So jump ahead to 2018. After the Crash Bandicoot remakes, there were tons of speculation on if Spyro the Dragon would be receiving the same treatment. And then solid evidence and teases started appearing online that it would be happening. With that trilogy holding a lot of nostalgic value for me, I worried about who would make it, if it'd feel like a project of passion or just a project that needed to be completed to make money. And then they were announced, and a sigh of relief. It looked incredibly considered, respectful, imaginative, and impressive. I could let myself be excited for them. If you've been around here for a while, I'm sure you remember me streaming the original games, hyping up the release of the Reignited Trilogy, tweeting and speculating about them a lot, just anything to pass the time until the games were released. And finally, after months of me being excited, they did. The original Spyro trilogy is only second to the original Sonic Adventure to me in terms of games I was passionate about as a child that I'd be anxious about remakes messing them up. Pokemon Gold and Silver would be right behind that, by the way, but they already received wonderful remakes some time ago. So I put the disc in, I loaded into the remake of Spyro 1, and I began playing it. I waltzed around every inch of every stage in the opening area, taking my time, analyzing everything. This rigorous mental checklist of X thing needs to be Y way slowly gave way to seeing that, yes, people who loved Spyro made this. Even details and touches I had just assumed would be lost were here. How do you make these weird polygonal spiral hedges work with modern fidelity? They'll probably be genericized, I thought while loading in, but nope. They were there and they looked fantastic. Controlling Spyro to look around and examine these things felt very satisfying. Absolutely better than he controlled in the original games. The soundtrack and visual atmosphere was either kept completely intact or improved upon outright. Town Square was a joy to dash through again. Dark Hollow had been transformed into a candlelit bookkeep in the woods, with my favorite music piece in the series given the respect it deserved, and then I went to Stone Hill. By this point, I had taken no notes, and I still hadn't hit record on my gameplay capture software. I had anxiously loaded into these games, ready to meticulously comb over every positive and negative exhibited, with time set aside specifically to work on producing a video for these remakes. That video never came. It's been nearly 3 years now, and I remember just getting to the upper layer of Stone Hill and setting my controller down for a stretch of time. I just looked out at the expanse beyond the level boundaries, and it had been a long time since I stopped in a video game and just let my mind wander for a while. Like, a long time. It'd be quaint to refer to that scene in Ratatouille because every think piece YouTuber has done it, but it absolutely applies here. I just let myself wonder what all was out there again for the first time in a long time. Playing the old Spyro games had become very solid comfort food to me as I aged, but my playstyle became very rigid and completion focused. I remembered the charm the games had from when I was a kid, but played them very clinically and coldly as an adult, just to beat them level by level 100% with little thought put into the worlds within them. But I was doing it again. I saw the other castle structures in the distance, the weirdly very vertical hedges, that ocean view, and I just wanted to explore them again. I hadn't felt that in so long. I went back to Dark Hollow and looked at the skybox, and then played the rest of the 3 games with this perspective again. It was exuberant. I was playing the Spyro Trilogy with a lens I had long since forgotten, and genuinely became so absorbed when playing it that I forgot about anything else. It was wonderful. I may still produce that video someday. This one isn't it, but this isn't to say I thought these were perfect remakes. A few little things still make me scratch my head, but it doesn't really matter. The Spyro Reignited Trilogy did a lot right on its own merits, but it made me remember to take some time to feel things about games again, to let some wonder and imagination return to my life. It sounds pretty dumb that it took this of all things to remind me of that, but I was pretty lost in the sauce for a long stretch of time there. Everything was about pros and cons, analytics, heck, just about having a take on anything in general, some haughty informed opinion just in case I could exercise it. It was incredibly freeing to just turn my brain off and experience something again. I still struggle with some aspects of the rut I'd fallen into. I still feel a need to record some flashy gameplay for anything I try to enjoy just in case, but I've gotten better about that urge. More often in games, I can slip into being immersed and just enjoy them for what they are, and it's incredibly pleasant. I guess I have everyone that helped make the Reignited Trilogy possible to thank for this fact. If it was a lesser remake or, God forbid, a bad one, I don't know when I would have had the wake-up call I did, so I'm grateful to these games for letting me experience a hobby I love in a way I'd forgotten how to. Every time I play Spyro now, whether it be these remakes or the originals, I still make sure to take some time to stare out into the expanses again, wondering what else could be out there. A big thanks to my patrons for helping support me over the years, including Adrian, Buckles Chucklo, Calico Plus, Goldstorm07, Harry, Jeet, Joey, Lewis Jones, Moki, Patrick Thompson, Svendelica, That Trav Guy, The Crazy Even, The Legend of Groose, and Wolf Chaoson. Thank you.